So 10 years ago, I walked away from the organization. What I didn't realize back then was that I had sort of correlated religion and spirituality together. I didn't recognize or understand that they were two entirely separate things. Part of that was because I recognized that they both relied on a higher source of intelligence as a belief system, and that was something that I didn't want to involve myself in because of the experience I had through religion. A few years later, I went through a spiritual awakening where I recognized that I really needed to get into touch with something that was far larger than I was. I just didn't understand how I was going to do that at the time. That didn't equate itself with religion because at that time, I didn't even want to say the word God. It was something that was very taboo to me. It had been ruined by far from Christianity. But now I understand and I recognize that the only way that I was able to let go of the self limiting beliefs that religion had put upon me through the indoctrination was by having an experience of what this vast intelligence was, by using spirituality as the avenue to get through that. It helped me to understand when I looked in through creation that there had to be a vast source of intelligence that was responsible for all the varieties and the subspecies and plant life and vegetation and our food and the animals. How could we see intelligence at such a big play? Even science has to some degree, acknowledge that there is a greater intelligence behind the making of everything. And yet, somehow religion still stays very boxed and confined in their idea of what this God is. It's not to be found in any of those things outside of us. In fact, it's to be found somewhere up in the heavens, sitting on a throne with a crown and a staff, getting ready to exact punishment for those who don't follow the rules and regulations. But until I had my experience through starting with nature and then incorporating presence in my day-to-day life, I understood why religion was so self-limiting, because it made me understand the capacity of how we were created, the enormity of intelligence that we have in control over our life, what maybe not necessarily happens to us all the time, but how we handle what happens to us, how we can bring into our lives things that are good, how we can cultivate a state of inner peace. And none of that would have been made possible by reading a book. Reading a book only helped to open the door to one thing, which was, you are none of those things if you don't believe in this God. Spirituality helped me to see that I am all of those things because I am a part of God. God is a part of me. And that was one of the biggest mind blows for me in life because I had experienced it firsthand. And so I cannot tell you how important I think it is at some point that we need to all acknowledge that the limiting beliefs that religion puts on us through the perspective of the Bible has been by far put there for a very good reason. It's been a plan that's put into effect since the beginning of time, which is to manipulate man into thinking that they're small and nothing without this God who is going to do everything for them, but only under the premise that you follow the rules and regulations. The other aspect of that is that that source of intelligence, or lack of intelligence, I should say, is very easily relied upon to help us navigate life, because then it takes the responsibility from us for having to do anything and places it solely on a God that's just going to take care of it all in the end. And that's not what life is about. When you tap into the greater source of consciousness through whatever avenue it is that you've gotten to it, you recognize that your life is your responsibility. And when you take full responsibility for your life, life starts to not only get better for you, but it starts to get better for the people who come into contact with you, because everything is about energy. And so the more that we grow as a humanity through that experience, through that frequency of love, the more that energy and that frequency infiltrates in through the world, the more people want to know about it because they recognize that there's something different within our lives. And that can only be accessed through having an experience of what this greater source of intelligence is. And so moving forward, there really is not any place for these viewpoints that feel that the Bible is the source of wisdom that comes from God. There'll be no room for that limited perspective because we are expansive human beings intended to have an experience through the one consciousness, because we ourselves are conscious human beings. And as the more and more of us wake up to that inner consciousness by awakening, the more we're going to realize how limiting this book is in making us stay unconscious and put our faith and belief that that is the only way that we could ever possibly have success. Anyways, that is the reason why having an experience is so vitally important to ridding ourselves of self-limiting beliefs. Much love and light.